In a world where speaking up is often equated with strength, we forget that sometimes the most courageous thing a person can do is to remain silent. Silence is not the absence of emotion or thought. It is, in many cases, the presence of incredible inner strength. There is a kind of resilience that doesn't require applause, a kind of courage that doesn't need an audience. It's the kind that is born in the shadows, nurtured in solitude, and revealed only through quiet persistence. That is where real power lies. We've been taught that if we don't speak, we won't be seen. That if we don't tell the world what we're going through, we won't be understood. But the truth is, not everyone needs to understand you. Not everyone needs access to the deepest parts of your soul. There is strength in choosing silence over explanation, restraint over reaction. There is strength in refusing to give people the power to influence your peace. Some of the strongest individuals you will ever meet are not the ones with the loudest voices, but the ones who have learned to carry their pain with dignity. They don't announce every challenge, nor do they broadcast every triumph. They move quietly, they heal privately, and they rise steadily. The world may not notice their battles, but that doesn't make their victories any less real. In fact, those unseen battles often demand the most strength. Silence allows you to listen to yourself, to the world around you, to the lessons life is whispering to you. When we constantly speak, defend, or explain, we often miss the chance to understand. In silence, we come face to face with our rawest selves. It is in silence that we confront our fears, our doubts, our hopes, and it is in that space that we often discover just how strong we truly are. When life pushes you down, there may be voices telling you to fight back loudly, to show the world that you're still standing. But sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is not saying anything at all. Just standing up quietly, brushing off the dust, and continuing to walk. Without declaring war, without seeking pity. That is the kind of strength that leaves people in awe, even if they never fully understand your story. There will always be those who mistake your silence for weakness. Let them underestimate you. Because being underestimated can be a gift. It gives you space to grow without interference, to evolve without scrutiny. While others are distracted by what you're not saying, you're already 10 steps ahead, building something stronger within yourself. Not everyone deserves to know what fuels you, what wounds you carry, or what keeps you awake at night. Sharing can be healing, but only when it's safe and only when it's right. Too often, we give people pieces of ourselves that they haven't earned, and then we wonder why we feel exposed or misunderstood. Silence gives you control. It's not about hiding. It's about choosing wisely who you let into your sacred space. When your strength is quiet, it doesn't mean it's invisible. It means it's focused, it's grounded, it's not seeking validation. It's rooted in self, awareness, and grace. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to prove your worth through words. Let your life speak. Let your actions echo louder than your voice ever could. So don't be afraid of your silence. Embrace it. Stand tall in it. Know that in your silence lies a power that cannot be shaken. A power that is not dependent on anyone's approval. Your quiet strength may go unnoticed by the world, but it will be the very thing that carries you through the hardest storms. And that is more than enough. In a time where oversharing has become a norm and privacy feels like a forgotten concept, there is a profound wisdom in knowing what to keep to yourself. Not every chapter of your life needs to be read out loud. Not every emotion, every decision, or every struggle is meant to be posted, explained, or exposed. There is something powerful, almost sacred, about holding your truth close to your heart and choosing not to let the world in on every detail. Because the reality is, not everything deserves an audience. We often believe that in order to feel seen, we must constantly speak about what we're going through. That in order to connect with others, we have to expose our scars, our plans, our heartbreaks. But connection doesn't require confession. It requires authenticity, and that can exist quietly. There is great strength in being honest with yourself without feeling the need to prove anything to anyone else. When you share too much with the wrong people, you open yourself up to misunderstandings, judgment, and unwanted opinions. People will interpret your story through their own lenses, their own fears, their own biases. And once your story is out in the world, it no longer belongs entirely to you. It becomes open to speculation, distortion, and misuse. That's why discernment is so important. Some things are meant to be processed in silence, to be understood by you and you alone until the time is right, if that time ever comes. Protecting your story is not a sign of distrust or secrecy. It's a form of self-respect. You are not obligated to give others a map to your soul. You are not responsible for satisfying their curiosity or feeding their need to know everything. It is okay, more than okay, to walk through life with some mystery, to hold parts of yourself back not because you're hiding, but because you're healing, or maybe simply because you don't want to share. And that is your right. We must learn to distinguish between what is private and what is personal. Just because something is personal to you doesn't mean it should be made public. Your dreams, your disappointments, your relationships, your beliefs, these are sacred spaces, and not everyone is entitled to enter them. In a world where everyone wants access to your life, where you are encouraged to share your truth, constantly there is power in saying, "This part is just for me." There's also an emotional cost to oversharing. Every time we expose our vulnerabilities prematurely, we risk further wounding ourselves. We seek comfort or validation from people who may not know how to hold space for us. And when we don't receive the response we hoped for, it adds to our pain. Silence, on the other hand, gives us room to process, to understand, and to find peace within ourselves first before seeking it elsewhere. You also have to consider motives, yours and others. Why do you feel the need to share something? Is it because you want support, or is it because you're afraid of being forgotten? Are you opening up because it feels right, or because you feel pressured? Likewise, when others want to know more about you, ask yourself why. Is it genuine care, or is it curiosity? Sometimes people don't want to understand you. They just want information, and information in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. The truth is, people cannot ruin what they don't know. They cannot twist what they haven't been told. They cannot break into a space they haven't been invited into. That is why guarding your life, your plans, your pain, your peace, is one of the most powerful things you can do. You are not being cold, you are being careful, and careful is not weak, it's wise. We live in an age of noise where silence is misunderstood and privacy is mistaken for isolation. But silence is not the absence of connection. It's the foundation of meaningful connection. When you stop sharing to be seen and start choosing to be whole, the right people will still find you, and they will meet you in the quiet, where trust is built not on exposure, but on presence. So hold your truth like the treasure it is. Share it when you're ready, with those who have earned the right to hear it. And until then, let your silence be your strength, your protection, and your peace. You don't have to tell the world who you are to prove that you exist. Just be, and know that not everything has to be known to be real, to be powerful, or to be enough. Choosing not to reveal everything about yourself is not deception. It's wisdom. In a culture where people are praised for their openness, and vulnerability is celebrated as bravery, we often forget that boundaries are just as important. The decision to hold something back isn't a lack of trust. It's an act of protection. It's a reminder that not everyone who listens to you truly hears you, and not everyone who sees you really sees your worth. Learning to guard your inner world is not about shutting people out. It's about knowing who deserves access to your most authentic self. When you give away pieces of your story too easily, you risk handing them to people who are not equipped to hold them with care. Some may judge you, some may envy you, some may even use what you share against you. And when that happens, it's not just painful, it's exhausting. That's why the ability to say this is mine, and I choose not to share it, is an act of power. It's a declaration that your life is not public property, that your story is not up for casual consumption. We often confuse openness with connection, thinking that the more we share, the more we bond. But real connection doesn't come from oversharing. It comes from being present, from being honest in the moment without emptying your soul. You can be real without being raw. You can be kind without being completely exposed. There is nothing false about choosing to speak less, reveal less, and preserve more. In fact, that's where self-respect begins. Imagine your soul as a home. Would you allow every person you meet to walk through every room, open every drawer, peek under every bed? Of course not. There are spaces meant only for those you trust deeply, those who have shown that they will treat your heart gently and honor your truth. The same rule applies to your thoughts, your dreams, your pain, and your experiences. It's okay to keep certain doors closed. It doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious. Being selective with what you share is a form of emotional intelligence. It means you've learned from experience. You've seen how some people only listen to reply, not to understand. You've watched how curiosity is often disguised as concern. And most importantly, you've realized that your peace is too precious to be put at risk by careless conversations. So you start to draw lines, not to isolate yourself, but to protect yourself. This is especially important when you're in the middle of healing or building something new. Sharing too much too soon can attract energy that disrupts your process. The opinions of others can cloud your judgment. Their doubts can plant seeds of insecurity. Their feedback, no matter how well meaning, can steer you away from your intuition. Silence, on the other hand, gives you room to grow. It lets you sit with your truth long enough to understand it fully, to own it, and to strengthen it before the world gets a glimpse. You don't owe anyone a full explanation of who you are. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't need to prove your intentions, your dreams, or your choices to anyone. When you live from a place of integrity, you can afford to let others wonder, let them speculate, let them assume. The people who matter will never demand your full story. They'll honor whatever part you choose to share. Silence is not about hiding. It's about preserving. It's about creating space between your truth and the noise of the world. When you guard your story, you keep it whole. You decide how it unfolds, who gets to witness it, and when the next chapter begins. And that is a beautiful, powerful thing. So protect your peace, guard your energy. Speak when it adds value. Share when it builds trust. But never feel guilty for choosing quiet over chaos, privacy over performance, or depth over disclosure. The parts of you that no one sees are often the strongest, the most beautiful, and the most sacred. Let them remain yours. In a world that places so much value on visibility, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that we must constantly show progress, announce our moves, or narrate our growth to feel worthy. But real strength doesn't always need to be seen or spoken. It can live quietly within us, steady and unshakable. Letting your actions speak louder than your words is one of the most powerful ways to walk through life. Because in the end, what we do will always say more than what we claim. Quiet resilience is a force, and it speaks volumes even in silence. There is a common misconception that if you don't talk about what you're doing, you aren't doing anything at all. That if you don't share your plans or your pain, you must not be evolving. But true growth often happens in private. The most meaningful transformations usually take place in silence when no one is watching. Just because the world doesn't see your effort doesn't mean it isn't real. Just because others aren't clapping doesn't mean you aren't winning. The applause of others should never be the fuel for your fire. When you let your actions speak, you remove the need to convince. You stop trying to prove your worth with words, and instead you embody it. You begin to understand that character is not built through declarations, but through daily decisions. Consistency, integrity, and commitment are the quiet architects of credibility. You don't have to post every step or broadcast every success. Your actions will eventually reflect what words cannot capture. There is something deeply empowering about being able to sit with your progress quietly. To wake up every day, do the work, and not feel the urge to explain your journey. In silence, you reclaim control over your narrative. You become the author of your story, not a performer in someone else's expectations. People may not know what you're building, but that's the beauty of it. It's yours, it's sacred, and it doesn't require outside validation to be real. It's easy to speak of dreams. It's easy to say, I will, I'm going to, just wait and see. But the real power is in showing up every day and doing the work, even when it's hard, even when it's slow, even when no one notices. That quiet, steady dedication is far more powerful than the loudest promise. There is no need to declare your next move when your results will eventually speak for themselves, and this applies to healing too. You don't have to constantly talk about your pain or how far you've come. Healing is personal. It's messy and nonlinear, and sometimes words fall short of expressing it anyway. You can heal in silence, grow in solitude, and still be powerful. Not everything needs to be verbalized for it to be valid. Sometimes the most profound healing happens in private moments when no one is around to witness the tears or the breakthroughs. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is the freedom to evolve without explanation. You don't owe anyone a justification for your pace, your path, or your process. If someone cannot see your growth without you pointing it out, perhaps they were never meant to witness it in the first place. Surround yourself with people who recognize your silent strength, who respect your need for privacy, and who trust in your ability to move forward, even when you aren't announcing each step. When you commit to letting your actions speak, you also free yourself from the exhausting need for approval. You learn to be at peace with being misunderstood. You realize that not everyone needs to get you, and that's okay. You stop needing the world to clap for you because you've learned how to clap for yourself. That is what real confidence looks like. Not arrogance, not self. Promotion, but quiet assurance in who you are and where you're going. There is grace in restraint. There is power in subtlety. There is courage in keeping parts of your journey sacred. And there is strength in allowing your results to shine in their own time. When you choose to speak less and do more, you are not being silent. You are being intentional. You are focusing your energy where it matters most, on action, not approval. So let your life be the loudest thing about you. Let your progress be so clear that it doesn't need to be explained. Let your values speak through how you treat people, how you show up, and how you carry yourself. Trust that the right people will notice, and the rest simply don't matter. In the end, it is not your voice that will define your legacy. It's your actions. Let them speak. Let them echo. Let them shine. Quietly, powerfully, and unmistakably. There's something remarkably powerful about being underestimated. It might sting at first when people dismiss you, doubt you, or fail to see your strength. But hidden within that experience is a gift. When people underestimate you, they stop watching. They stop interfering. They stop trying to shape your story with their assumptions. And in that quiet, underestimated space, you gain the freedom to rise, to grow, and to prove, to yourself, not to them, that your strength never depended on their recognition. Being underestimated gives you a chance to move in silence, to build without pressure, and to thrive without the burden of expectation. While others are looking elsewhere, assuming you're not capable or not ready, you are given the rare opportunity to surprise them, not with words, but with results. And the most satisfying victories often come when no one saw them coming. There is something beautiful about achieving things no one thought you could. Not out of revenge, but out of quiet determination, out of a deep, unwavering belief in your own potential. When you're underestimated, the world may not see your value, but that doesn't change your worth. It simply reflects their limited vision. Their inability to recognize your potential is not your problem to solve. You don't need to explain your dreams, prove your abilities, or defend your progress. Instead, you can take their doubt and let it fuel your inner fire. You can use it to sharpen your focus, deepen your commitment, and strengthen your resilience. People often assume that silence means weakness, or that humility is the same as lack of confidence. But they are wrong. Quiet strength is one of the most underestimated forms of power. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply exists, steady, unshaken, and deeply rooted. When you are silent, people may think you have nothing to say. When you are kind, they may think you are soft. But when the time comes to rise, they will see a force they didn't prepare for. And that's where your power lies. Letting people underestimate you can also be a strategic advantage. It allows you to observe, to learn, and to grow without distraction. While others are too busy underestimating your ability, you have the space to prepare quietly, to work consistently, and to build something solid. You don't need to correct their perception. You need to protect your process, and sometimes being overlooked is exactly what you need to stay focused. The most dangerous person in the room is not always the loudest. It's the one no one noticed was watching, learning, evolving. That person has no need to declare their strength because their strength isn't built for display, it's built for impact. And when they finally act, they do so with clarity, intention, and power. That's who you can become when you stop chasing recognition and start embracing the quiet confidence of being underestimated. What matters most is not what others see, it's what you see in yourself. You may not always feel strong. You may doubt yourself at times, but every step you take forward in silence, every time you choose perseverance over performance, you're proving something important. Your strength was never about appearances. It was always about heart, grit, and the courage to keep going even when no one is cheering. So let them overlook you, let them misunderstand you, let them place you in the shadows. That's fine, because you don't need a spotlight to shine. You just need belief. You don't need a crowd to rise. You just need purpose. Keep walking, keep building, keep growing. And one day, the very people who underestimated you will look back and on, not because you told them who you were, but because you showed them. Being underestimated is not a curse. It's a hidden blessing. It gives you the space to become something greater than they ever imagined. Let your strength be the surprise. Let your success be the answer. Let your silence speak for you, because the loudest power is the one that doesn't need to shout. It just shows up and changes everything. In today's fast-paced and noisy world, choosing silence can often feel like a radical act. We live surrounded by constant chatter, social media updates, breaking news, endless conversations. And sometimes it feels like the only way to be noticed is to speak louder or share more. Yet within this noise lies an often overlooked truth. Peace is priceless, and protecting it is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can perform. Choosing silence is not about withdrawing from the world. It's about preserving your inner calm and maintaining control over your own energy. When you decide to protect your peace, you set boundaries that are vital for your well-being. It's easy to become overwhelmed when you let every opinion, every conflict, and every demand invade your mind. Noise can distract you from what truly matters, cloud your judgment, and drain your spirit. By embracing silence, you create a sanctuary inside yourself, a place where clarity can emerge and your true priorities can be seen without distortion. This sanctuary isn't about isolation. It's about self-preservation, about honoring your need for balance in a chaotic world. Silence also allows you to process your thoughts and emotions deeply and authentically. When you're constantly surrounded by noise, it becomes difficult to listen to your own voice, to understand your feelings, and to make decisions that align with your values. Silence offers a sacred space where reflection is possible. It's in these quiet moments that you learn to distinguish between external pressures and your own true desires. This distinction is crucial because it helps you live intentionally rather than reactively, guiding you toward choices that nurture your growth rather than hinder it. In protecting your peace, you also protect your relationships. When you speak less and listen more, you become more present and empathetic. People feel truly heard when you give them your full attention without rushing to respond or interrupt. Silence can foster deeper connections because it invites understanding and patience. Moreover, by guarding your peace, you avoid unnecessary conflicts that often arise from reacting impulsively or engaging in toxic exchanges. Silence here acts as a buffer, a way to preserve harmony both within yourself and in your interactions with others. There is a profound strength in choosing silence over engagement when faced with negativity. It's tempting to respond to criticism, defend yourself, or prove your point, but often these reactions only fuel conflict and unrest. Silence, on the other hand, can be a shield. It deflects unnecessary drama and protects your energy from being drained by disputes that serve no purpose. By refusing to engage in every battle, you conserve your strength for what truly matters: your peace, your progress, and your happiness. Moreover, silence can be a form of resistance against the pressure to conform. Society often demands that we explain ourselves, justify our choices, and fit into predetermined molds. But when you choose to protect your peace through silence, you reclaim your right to be different, to move at your own pace, and to live on your own terms. You resist the urge to please everyone or to seek constant approval. In this resistance, there is empowerment, a quiet rebellion that honors your individuality and self-worth. Protecting your peace also means being mindful of what you allow into your mind and heart. Just as silence protects you from unnecessary noise, it shields you from harmful influences, whether they come in the form of toxic relationships, negative thoughts, or overwhelming distractions. You learn to recognize what nourishes your soul and what depletes it. This awareness leads to better choices about who you spend time with, what you consume, and how you spend your energy. In this way, silence is not emptiness but fullness, a space where you can fill yourself with positivity, love, and strength. Ultimately, protecting your peace through silence is an act of love toward yourself. It's a way of saying, I am worthy of calm, of respect, and of a life that honors my well-being. It requires courage to resist the urge to respond immediately, to explain, or to defend. It requires strength to walk away from noise, drama, and distraction. But this courage and strength pay off in deep, lasting ways. When you prioritize your peace, you cultivate resilience, clarity, and a centeredness that no external chaos can shake. This inner peace becomes the foundation for everything else in your life. It allows you to show up fully in your relationships, your work, and your dreams. When your mind is quiet, your purpose becomes clearer. When your heart is calm, your actions are more thoughtful. When your spirit is protected, your energy is abundant. Silence in this sense is not emptiness but power, a power that fuels your journey and nourishes your soul. Choosing silence and protecting your peace is not a one-time decision but a continuous practice. It requires mindfulness, patience, and self-compassion. There will be moments when the noise tempts you, when the urge to explain or defend feels strong. In those moments, remember that your peace is precious. Remember that silence is your sanctuary. And remember that by protecting your peace, you are choosing yourself, your well-being, your strength, and your power. So embrace the power of silence. Let it be your shield, your guide, and your refuge. In a world that rarely stops talking, your silence will stand out as a beacon of strength. Protect your peace fiercely, honor your inner world, and know that in your quiet moments lies a power that is unbreakable and truly yours. In a world that never stops speaking, choosing silence is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration of strength. Protecting your peace is one of the most courageous acts you can commit to, for it means honoring your worth above the noise and chaos around you. When you guard your inner calm, you create space for clarity, growth, and true connection, both with yourself and others. Remember, silence is not emptiness, it is power. It allows you to move through life with intention, resilience, and grace. So hold your peace close, speak when it truly matters, and let your quiet strength be the foundation of a life lived fully and authentically.